Today we're talking about the Pergear 35mm f1.6. So let's do this. What's up, YouTube? I hope you all are doing well. Today we are talking about the Pergear 35mm f1.6. If you remember from a few weeks ago, I reviewed a Pergear lens as well. That was the 25mm f1.8. And after that review, they actually sent me the 35mm to review as well. Now, obviously, disclaimer, I was sent this lens by Pergear, but they have not asked me to say anything specific about this lens and are pretty open about me offering my honest opinion about this lens. So you will be getting my honest opinion and what I think about this lens. So with that being said, as always, we're breaking this down into 3 categories. We are going to talk about image quality, build quality, and my overall thoughts on this lens. Now let's get into the image quality of this lens and what I think about the image quality. So about a month or so ago, I reviewed a lens that was around the same price from Neewer. It's a $70 35mm f1.4. And one thing I said about that lens was the overall image was really soft until you got around a 2.8 or an f4, and even then, probably still soft in the corners. Something that got me really excited about using this lens is the fact that wide open, it still had some good center sharpness. It's still really soft on the corners, but is a usable image. It actually reminds me of a vintage lens as far as the character and the image that comes out of this lens. And so if you're a fan of that filmic, cinematic look, this is definitely a lens to check out as far as image quality because it really does mimic an old vintage lens. Now I did a lot of the B-roll shooting with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and so with the Pocket 4K and this lens, it created a really filmic, really cinematic look, and that was something I was really impressed with. So you just have a lot of good character with this image. With that f1.6, you have some decent low light performance. Is it as good as like a 1.4 or anything like that? Not necessarily, but it still does perform in low light. With the f1.6, you do have good subject isolation between the background and the subject, especially at that 35mm range. With the 25mm, it is a little bit wider, so you don't have that much isolation. But with that 35mm, it is more of a 70mm equivalent, so it's a little bit more telephoto than what would be the 50mm equivalent. And so you do have some good subject isolation with this lens as well. So those are some thoughts about the image quality. Let's talk about the build quality. Now this is where it's very similar to the 25mm, and I'm actually really impressed that it is so much like the 25mm. If this were big enough to have a follow focus system, that would be amazing, because if I switch from the 25mm to the 35mm, I wouldn't have to move any of the follow focus system. This is, however, very tiny, so that'd be very interesting to see if you can get a follow focus system on that. I mentioned this with the 25mm, but it is a very sturdy build. It's an all metal construction. It is such a relief on a $70 lens to have everything metal. The mount is not plastic or anything like that. It's all metal. Like I said with the 25, the focus ring and the aperture ring are smooth. The aperture ring is declicked. That has not changed as well. You know, a couple weeks ago, I did the 7 Artisans review, and that focus ring just got hung up on a couple places. This is so smooth and so nice. So really good. Again, just blows me away the cost of this lens. You have a really good lens, really good build for $70. Come on, like, stop the video now. Go buy this lens, seriously. Now, a couple of the negatives I had about the 25 are obviously gonna be here too, because it's basically the same lens, but you have the markers which aren't really clear of where the aperture sits. It's clear where the focusing ring sits, but as far as the aperture ring, it's really not that clear. I'm not a fan of like the shiny front here. Now, something I did not realize about the 25, something I really am not a fan of, is the fact that the focusing, when you do focus, you get some barrel extension. I thought it was only with the 35, but then I checked it on the 25. It's the same thing. There's some barrel extension there too. So I'm never really a fan of barrel extension when you're focusing, not from the fact of like, if I extend this barrel, I'm not gonna throw a gimbal off, but more so for the fact of dust and dirt. Just from the fact that like when you have a moving component like this, it's just more space for dirt and dust to get into. So I'm never really a huge fan of barrel extension. So that's kind of a bummer for me. But other than that, you have a really quality lens with a couple of quirks here and there for $70. So with that in mind, what are my overall thoughts on this lens and would I recommend this? I'm gonna go ahead and say, yes, I would recommend this. I would actually recommend this and the 25. You're gonna have almost identical lenses at these two focal lengths. So just go ahead and purchase the pair. But I definitely recommend this for anybody that is starting out, needs something on a very tight budget, is maybe looking for that vintage lens feel, that filmic cinematic feel, and you want a modern lens that comes with a warranty. And on top of that, you don't have to do the rigmarole vintage lens quality control of looking for dirt, dust, grime, any fungus that may be in the lens. This is a new lens, and so you're not gonna have any of that. And so having that vintage lens look and that filmic vibe with something that's new is gonna be really beneficial. Again, maybe you just picked up a GH5, a Black Magic, you know, all the money went into the camera body and you're looking for some inexpensive primes. This is definitely one to check out, as well as the 25mm that I reviewed a couple weeks ago. Again, filmmakers that are on a budget, you're looking for something that is small, compact, something that's gonna get the job done and not break the bank. This will absolutely do it. So that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this sheds some light on if the 35mm from Pergear is worth the investment, and I truly think it is. I do want to thank the guys over at Pergear for sending this to me to review. I've really enjoyed these lenses. That being said, I will be leaving some links below if you do want to purchase this lens. And remember, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like. If you're digging the overall content from the channel, consider subscribing. If you are a filmmaker or videographer stuck at home, going a little bit stir crazy, check out the video on the SD single space challenge that I have going on. Check out the rules, submit your entries to be featured on my channel. As always, thank you guys for joining. Go and find your journey. Go embrace life, stay safe, be happy, wash those hands, and I'll see you here next time. Peace. So that's some thoughts on the image quality. Today we're talking about the, why can I not say that? I am filming this at 11 o'clock at night, but I'm staying on point. It does give the potential for durst and dut. Stay safe, be happy, wash those hands. Staying alive, staying alive, staying alive. Bum, bum, bum. I don't know if that was the bass line after that song. I just inserted that. Just looked at the monitor for that whole last sentence. Okay.